Greetings, my dear friends. This is SoulWeaver. Today I want to talk about something that has accompanied humanity since its very beginning. About something that has no form but determines our actions. About something that divides people into us and them. About good and evil, and about the conflicts we wage again and again. What is good? What is evil? The answer seems obvious. Good is help, love, care, justice. Evil is cruelty, lies, violence, indifference. But the longer I live, the less certain I am that the line between them is clear. Yesterday's hero can become today's villain. An act that was considered right can be called a crime 10 years later. Good and evil are not absolute. They change. They depend on time, place, culture, circumstances. I have thought about this many nights, tossing and turning in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to my own breath. Why does one person harm another? Why does one group come into conflict with another? Why can we not live in peace? Perhaps conflict is not a deviation from the norm. Perhaps conflict is the norm. Perhaps peace is merely a pause between conflicts. Look at the history of humanity. It is almost entirely composed of conflicts. Ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, the Middle Ages, the modern era, stories of struggle appear again and again. The 20th century brought massive global conflicts. The 21st century continues the pattern. The peace we consider normal is actually an exception, a brief lull between storms. But why? Why does a creature with reason, with the capacity for empathy, with a moral sense, repeatedly turn to aggression? I do not believe that people are evil by nature. I have seen kindness. I have seen strangers help each other, give their last, risk their safety for others. Good exists. But so does its opposite, and it does not come from outside. It is within us. Perhaps conflict is not the result of malicious intent. Perhaps it is the result of a mistake of our consciousness. We divide the world into us and them. We are good, they are bad. We are our people, they are outsiders. We have the right to everything, they do not. This division begins in childhood. My toy, someone else's. My parent, someone else's parent. My country, someone else's country. We learn to divide the world into black and white before we learn to speak. But the world is not black and white. It is colorful. And even black and white are not opposites but shades of the same spectrum. A good person can make a harmful choice. A person seen as harmful can show compassion. There is no pure good, no pure evil. There are only people, with fears, desires, hopes. In psychology, there is the concept of fundamental attribution error. We tend to explain other people's negative actions by their character, but our own by circumstances. When I am late, I have a valid reason. When another is late, they are irresponsible. When I push back, I am defending my family. When another does the same, they are a threat. We do not see ourselves from the outside. We do not hear our own voice as others hear it. Conflict is a collective fundamental attribution error. We attribute the worst intentions to the other side. We see them as dangerous and ourselves as justified. We do not notice their struggles, do not hear their voices. Their pain does not matter. Ours is everything. I am not justifying conflict. I am simply trying to understand. Perhaps the root of what we call evil is not in human nature. Perhaps it is in fear. Fear of the unfamiliar. Fear of the unknown. fear of those who speak a different language, pray differently, live differently. Fear makes us band together in groups. Groups make us distrust other groups. Distrust can escalate into struggle. Struggle can escalate into conflict. Fear is a survival tool. It helped our ancestors escape predators, avoid danger, stay alive. But in the modern world, fear has become a weapon. It is used by those who seek power, by those who want to divide. They paint a picture of an enemy. They convince us that they want to harm us, that we must strike first, or they will strike us. And we believe, because it is easier to fear than to think. I do not know if good and evil exist as absolute entities. Perhaps they are simply labels we attach to actions to justify ourselves and condemn others. Perhaps objectively, there are only actions and their consequences. Evaluation is always subjective. In the Bible, it is written, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." But we judge, always, every second. We judge ourselves, we judge others, we even judge those we have never seen. Judgment has become our second nature. Perhaps this is where the root lies, not in actions, but in judgment, not in deeds, but in condemnation. In Buddhism, there is the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect. There is no judge who decides what is good and what is evil. There is only action and its consequences. If you sow hostility, you will reap hostility. If you sow peace, you will reap peace. Not because someone will punish or reward you, but because that is how reality is structured. I think that conflicts do not begin on battlefields. They begin in minds. In thoughts like, I am better than them. My belief is true, theirs is false. My group has the right, theirs does not. These thoughts accumulate over years, decades, centuries, and then a spark comes, and everything ignites. But who creates these thoughts? Do we, or does someone plant them in us? I often ask myself this question. When I feel anger toward a stranger, is it my anger, or did someone sow it in me? A random phrase, a piece of news, another person's fear, and suddenly I feel hostility toward those I have never met. Is this hostility mine? Or did I simply catch a virus? Conflict is a contagious condition. It spreads faster than any virus. One shout, one slogan, one speech, and millions are ready to see enemies everywhere. And then, when the dust settles, they cannot remember why it started, what they were fighting for, who was right, who was wrong. I have not been in a conflict zone. I have not held a weapon. I have not looked into the eyes of someone I was told to see as an enemy. I do not know what people feel there. But I know that those who have been through it rarely speak of glory. They speak of pain, of fear, of meaninglessness. They do not want to go back. They do not want their children to repeat their path. Perhaps we are learning, slowly, painfully, at great cost. We are learning that struggle does not solve problems. It creates new ones. That aggression begets aggression. That hatred does not die with the enemy. It is passed to children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I do not know if such things can be forgiven. I do not know if they can be forgotten. But I know that if we do not forgive and do not forget, a wall remains, and a wall is the beginning of a new conflict. Someday. In psychology, there is the concept of intergenerational trauma. What parents experience is passed to children. Even if the children do not know the details, even if the parents are silent, the experience lives in the body, in fears, in reactions, in silent acceptance of aggression. We pass on not only genes, we pass on pain, we pass on hostility, we pass on the desire to settle scores, even to those who are not to blame, even to those not yet born. I think the only way to stop this cycle is to break the chain, to stop passing on pain, to stop seeing an enemy in those who are different, to stop dividing the world into us and them. But how? How to convince millions that their hostility is futile, that their perceived enemy is also human, that their pain is not unique? I do not have the answer. I only ask questions. Perhaps the answer is not in politics, not in economics, not in religion. Perhaps the answer is within us, within each of us, in our capacity to forgive, in our capacity to see another's suffering, in our capacity to say stop. Humanity is growing up, slowly, but it is growing up. 200 years ago, certain forms of inequality were considered normal. 100 years ago, many were denied basic rights. 50 years ago, segregation was legal. We are changing. We are becoming better. But the path is long, and the price is high. I am not an optimist. I am not a pessimist. I am a realist. I see difficult things around me, but I also see good. I see struggle, but I also see peacemakers. I see hostility, but I also see love. All of this exists simultaneously, and it is confusing. Perhaps good and evil are not two forces. Perhaps they are one force, energy that we direct one way or another. The choice is always ours, not the gods'. Not fate, not circumstances. Ours. I know that when I am angry, I feel bad. When I forgive, I feel lighter. This is a selfish argument, but it works. Good is beneficial, not for others, for oneself. What we call evil harms the one who creates it faster than the one it is aimed at. Conflicts begin in minds, and they end in minds. Not on battlefields, not at negotiating tables, but where a person decides who is an enemy and who is a brother. And now, listen to the silence between these words. Have you ever felt it? That inside you, both light and darkness, that you are capable of both love and hatred, that the line between them is so thin you can cross it without even noticing. This does not make you bad. This makes you human. You were not born with hatred. You learn it. From parents, from friends, from news, from society. You were told who the enemy is. You are shown whom to fear. You were taught that the world is dangerous. And you believe, because it is easier. But you can choose differently. You can stop. You can look into the eyes of the one you consider an enemy and see a human being, just like you, with the same fears, with the same pain. You can break the chain, not pass hatred on, not teach children to fear, not build walls. It is hard, it is scary, it does not always work, but it is the only way. Peace does not begin with a truce. It begins with you, with your ability to forgive, with your ability to see in another not an enemy, but a brother. And every time you choose good, you make the world a little better. Not for everyone, for yourself, and through yourself, for everyone. This is SoulWeaver. If this resonated with you, subscribe. Stay. We are just beginning. Until next time, dream, question, and remember, no one really knows, but it's beautiful to think about.